everybody. I'm Doug Raines, Realtor at Keller Williams. I am really excited to bring another community leader to you all right now. I have known this person over here for a number of years, and I admire and respect him. I really do, not only on the person that he is, but how he is out in our community, how he volunteers, how he supports our communities. You know, he answers questions, he'll ask questions, and what I think is also cool is that he listens to those questions as well. And then he takes those back to the powers that be, and they get together, and then we're heard as a community. And that's the way it should be, man. So I am really, really excited to introduce to you Andrew Hayes. Andrew, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Nice to see you.
Nice
Thanks
to
for having me
too.
today.
Oh, man, you bet.
Appreciate it.
Got a few questions I just want to throw at you,
Yeah.
and then you just fire away. It's pretty laid back.
Okay,
so
I like laid back.
Let's
That's
just
good.
go back there. So, all right, I know you're a busy man.
Yeah.
So you've got a couple of roles right
Yeah,
now in your career
I do.
that you're juggling. Why don't you share a little bit about both of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing that I am is I am District Director for State Senator Brian Jones. So my job is primarily focused on constituent services. So I help oversee the senator's entire Senate district. So that goes from El Cajon all the way to Fallbrook and Imperial Line and Riverside County. So Riverside County line rather. So we represent 1 million people. And my job is to make sure that our staff, serve our constituents. So we've got a lot of staff, and just to give an example, kind of highlighting what we do, is when somebody has a problem with a 3-letter state agency, that could be the Department of Real Estate, by the way. We help people with that a lot, but we help them get connected. We're an ombudsman, right? So give an example, during COVID, right, the EDD, the unemployment department, wouldn't answer their phones or return emails, right? So people couldn't get their unemployment checks. So we have helped over 4,000 families get the benefits that they were entitled to when the government shut down the economy.
Wow,
and so
crazy.
It was crazy, right? And so, but we help them get their benefits. So that's just one example. We give awards to kids who do great things in schools, right? We give award to chamber members, right? Chamber of Commerce members for their grand openings, right? When they have them. So honoring, their community service, right? So those are things that we do. And so as a constituent services operations, constituent services organization, that's kind of my primary role, is to oversee that and make sure our constituents are responded to and the senator's responsive. So
that is great.
That's my first role that I do. Then
that's a pretty big role.
That's a big role. It's a big role, and I love my role. I love that work. I love it.
It shows.
And so then my second role is I'm elected to the school board in Lakeside. And so I love serving the kids. I went to Lakeside schools. I grew up in Lakeside schools. I just want the kids to get a quality education like I got when I was there. And so I've served there for 4 years. I'm very excited about that. I love Lakeside, right? And then some other things that I do too is I do some consulting, on the side. So, campaign consulting, sometimes government affairs consulting. It just depends on who wants to hire me, right? And so that's the idea. Although I'm pretty busy with the other two things, so I don't do as much as that, but I do some.
Yeah,
so.
I know you're really busy, and I love seeing you out in our community. I mean, I'm a Lakeside board member
myself. Yes, you are, for the chamber,
So if you don't see him out there, that means you're not out there. And then
I love that.
Regardless, he has to juggle a bunch of balls, so if he cannot make it, he supports it in so many other fashions. And we really appreciate that. And I know the community of Lakeside and East County, I mean, with the redistricting happening, your audience did grow right there.
Yes, it did.
So we appreciate you doing what you do for our community.
Well,
There's no doubt about it.
I appreciate that.
So, going back, how did you get started in all this anyway?
That's a great
question.
question.
Not everybody says I'm choosing politics.
Well, it'll be interesting. I actually did not want to choose politics. So So when I went to USD, I went to El Cap, went to Lakeside Schools, then went to USD, and I didn't want to get into politics. I actually wanted to be a lawyer, and so with the eventual probably entry into politics as being a lawyer. So I decided to say, well, I got to do some internships. I got to, kind of get to know what law would be, right, and kind of what that would look like. And so I went and interned with a few lawyers. And what I found was they kind of hated their job. And they didn't, it wasn't like Law and Order, right? I mean, it wasn't like Law and Order. So I was like, well, maybe I don't maybe that's not what I want to do. I want to like what I do. I want to love what I do and get paid for it. That's what my mom always told me, right? Love what you do and get paid for it.
Yep,
So,
smart.
so that's what I did. I said, well, I'm not going to love what I do. So if I'm a lawyer, so I said, okay, I need to do something else. So I need to get a job. I'm coming up at the end of my time at USD, and I'm trying to figure it out. So I said, well, I'm a business guy, business major, so I'm going to go and look in finance. Maybe I can do finance. I always liked the stock market. I always was interested in investments and those kind of things. So I said, yeah, why not take a look? So I went and talked to a few finance folks and was trying to go into some internships in finance, and those doors kind of closed. It didn't really work out. And so at this point, I'm getting pretty panicked, right? Because I'm going, I got to graduate, I need to get a job, I have to do some, I need to pay off these loans that I'm paying for USD. Like, I got to figure out a way to make some income. So I said, well, I got to just go. I love politics. Maybe I'll look in that. So I started looking at political jobs. And the Republican Party of San Diego was actually hiring canvassers, precinct walkers, to go door to door, and they were paying $10 an hour.
That's grassroots.
That's grassroots, man.
Yeah.
So I started. So I said, well, I'm currently making $8 an hour doing these odd and end jobs that I was doing at the time, building walls, doing fences, painting, working at my church during some of that time as well. And I said, gosh, $10 an hour is great. $2 an hour more than what I'm doing this stuff for. I'm going to go and walk door to door. So that's what I did. And as I did that, I met a bunch of people. And one of those people is now Supervisor Joel Anderson, who was a senator at the time. And he said, well, hey, you should come and work in my office. And I said, sure. So I went and did that, and the rest is history, if you will. I worked for him. I ran some of his re-election campaigns. He hired me in his legislative office. And then when he termed out of the legislature, Senator Jones hired me. So it kind of all fell into place. And then in between all that, I ran for office. So anyway.
Everything usually does fall into place.
It does fall into place.
But you have to work hard.
That's right.
And do the right thing.
That's right.
And that's one of the things that I really feel is one of your strengths, is you are doing the right thing.
I appreciate that.
You're very transparent. You want to help people.
That's right. I do.
So in both of your roles, in your consulting role too, all three of your roles, I think it's a great thing. So
I love it.
Everything usually does happen for a reason. So you're here because you're here.
That's right.
That's what you are.
That's right. I love it.
Well, what decided you get into politics? I think you covered that baby right there.
That, yep.
And then what about wanting to become a community leader?
Yeah.
We love you in our community, no doubt about it.
Well,
so what made you want to do that?
I wanted to make Lakeside, how I grew up in it. I mean, Lakeside is a great little town. Yep. And I love
I'm a Lakeside resident.
See, there you go. See? And I just love Lakeside. And I wanted it to be as best as it can be for my godkids and all of my friends and family who have kids, and just all of that. I wanted to just make it a good community, right? And I believe that I was called to leadership. I'm a man of faith, and so I believe that God has called me to lead in my community. Yep. And whatever that looks like, I don't know, and who knows what the future looks like, but I believe that I'm here for a reason, as you just mentioned. Yep. And I believe that's to make Lakeside a better place, and that is on numerous different issues, right? Not just in the school board level, but on any level. I mean, if that's just helping and volunteering in the community, if that's just helping and volunteering at my church, whatever that may be, I just want it to be a better place like I grew up. And I grew up in Lakeside, and it's a great community. So I want to keep it that way.
And you're doing all the right things. I know the school board itself, or the Lakeside School District, is a great school district. Great school district. So I guess maybe one of the reasons why you have chosen that, maybe, I don't know, is I know what you were saying before, but do you have any role models, political role models that kind of put you into that even maybe a little bit further?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had an affinity for Abraham Lincoln. I mean, I think a lot of people do, right? Yeah. Who doesn't, right? But I think when you start reading more about Abraham Lincoln, and I'd recommend a book too, Team of Rivals. If you've never read Team of Rivals, read it. It's a really good. Mark that down. It's a really good. Yeah, mark it down. It's a very good book, and it talks about kind of Lincoln's trajectory and how he negotiates and how he talked to people, right? And he was known in his party as someone who would negotiate and who would work across the aisle to get things done. And I think that that's a really important quality. I have strong positions on numerous issues, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody knows them because I'm transparent about them. Yep. But it doesn't mean I don't want to work with people either. And Lincoln was kind of the model for that. And I think when you look at the 13th Amendment, right, and the debate and the battle that he had, right, to fight for some of these, the slavery amendments, right, and he had to fight for that.
Oh yeah.
He won by like 5 or 6 votes. I can't remember the votes. Don't hold me to the votes. But he won barely. I mean, he squeaked by, and that was because he negotiated and he worked deals out, and he said this is the right thing to do, and he was able to bring these historically at odds in Congress groups together, and that's a leader, right? And that's somebody who does stuff. And I think that's one example, right? So.
Abraham Lincoln. It's funny because I always remember a story of, and not that. Well, yeah, we've all had failures before.
Yep.
And I know he had several obstacles that he overcame throughout his political career, getting started in his political career.
That's right.
But he was doing the right things.
He was.
So all the hard work and the obstacles that he had to overcome worked out. His world would be totally different if it wasn't for him.
That's right.
So I love that. Yeah. I do love Abraham Lincoln.
He's great. The other one I love is Bonhoeffer. He was a priest, I believe, in Germany during Nazi Germany, and he really fought for his values. He ended up not surviving all that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, he stood for his principles, right? And that's what you have to do. You have to stand for what you believe, and that's really important. So it translates to Abraham Lincoln. All of it does. But I like fighters. I like people who are going to fight.
There you go.
So,
there you go. Well, you're getting the work done.
That's right. That's right. And I want results.
And it's not for you to win.
That's right.
It's for all of us.
That's right.
That's the big goal right there.
That's exactly right.
Man, a lot of people want to be a lot of things when they grow up. I remember, one, being a ball player.
Yeah.
I loved sport, but in my era, it was like you could be president of the United States. Okay, so you still have kids out there that may want that aspiration. If they come to you for advice, what kind of advice would you give them right now?
Oh, I would tell them leadership is hard. It can be lonely, but it's gratifying and it's worth it if you're making real efforts in your own community, in your own backyard. And actually, there was somebody who, when I first started getting into politics and to public service, told me, rubber hits the road at the local level. So a lot of folks want to run for president, be in Congress, but I found that local government is where the rubber hits the road, truly.
Yeah,
it really is where you can make actual change for your community and better your community, right? And, so I would tell those students, one, don't not do it, but read some leadership. Read about some leaders that you like. Read about some presidents. Read about their path. Kind of look at what you want to do and then see how they got there. And maybe that'll help you. But be open to change, right? Be open to life. Be open to change. But the other thing is, be a listener. Read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. You got to read that book. If you don't read that book, I try to live by that book. And one of my mentors, Joel Anderson, taught me about reading that book, and so I've read it. And I read it every year because it reminds me.
It's a great book.
It's a great book, and so I would tell them to read that, and then I would tell them to find who their role model is, and then kind of figure out what their role model did. Ask questions, listen, right? All that matters.
That's key.
That's what I would tell them, and then find out what you want to do, and be bold, right? Be bold. Don't be ashamed. Don't be shy. Go out there and take what you want because you want to work for your community. You want to work to be a leader, whatever it may be. But be bold.
Yeah. What great advice, Andrew. It really is. It really is. People know you, but everybody doesn't know everything about you.
That's true.
So, I'm going to make you tell us 2 things that people may not know about you.
Okay.
Fire away. What's the first thing?
First thing is, a lot of people don't know because they see me working all the time. They don't know that I actually love to travel when I have time. And I've spent quite a bit of time traveling. My favorite place that I went to was New Zealand. My best friend and I traveled to New Zealand, 5 or so years ago, 6 years ago. And we spent 2.5 weeks just driving the country. There are more sheep than people in New Zealand, and it's true. There's a lot of people, but it's great. I mean, beautiful country. So I highly recommend going, and I highly recommend eating rabbit. I tried rabbit there, and
I've had rabbit.
It was good, by the way. I had it in a rabbit goulash.
I grew up in the country.
It was fantastic. It was good. I had venison. I had a bunch of good stuff. I mean, it was really good. So I love that. That's one of my favorite things. So travel. One of my favorite things about that is travel. And then, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but when I do have free time, I'm an avid reader. And, a lot of people wouldn't know that, but I mean, I read a bunch of stuff. So if you come into my home and you visit me at my house, you'll walk into my office and it's got bookshelves galore. And I've read all those books on the shelves, and not just for show. I've read them,
Good
and
for you.
and I love them, and I love books. So it's my favorite thing, and that's why I love reading. And I love literacy, and so that's one of my passion projects. So
That's pretty neat. That really is, and I would encourage everybody to read more. I need to read more. I mean, you're opening your mind to other things.
Yep.
What you do for our community. A lot of it is hard work behind the scenes, and people really don't know that. So I'm glad you were able to share some of that information
Appreciate
with
that.
them right
And thanks
now.
for giving me the opportunity.
No. Well, you've probably all received this in the mail already. Take a read. We just talked about books and reading. Take a read. Do your part in this. And Andrew's on one of those pages in there, and make sure that we all support who we feel is the best. There's great information about you in there. Putting students and families first.
Yep.
Having the families or the parents have more involvement than the Sacramento bureaucrats.
Yep.
There's so much. So he's the real deal. I'm sure you would love their support.
I would.
And Andrew, you keep being you, man,
Thank you,
because
brother.
you are a
Appreciate
winning
it.
man.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you.